talk about what he thinks about mentoring. We've been talking a lot about this, and I look forward to his thoughts.
Thanks, Shruti. Kapila ji, Dr. Karan Singh, Suresh Bhai, Mr. Agrawal, Shruti, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a special privilege to be here with all these distinguished people to talk a little bit about mentoring. I met Shruti just about 2 years ago, and I was quite impressed with a student of mathematics interested in all kinds of culture, music. As I got to know her, she and I started talking about teachers. And I find that on one hand, there is a need to preserve a lot of this Indian heritage, culture, art. And on the other hand, there are all kinds of new tools which are essentially replacing old methods and bringing new ways of doing things. I remember about 20 years ago, a friend of mine told me that there are 12,000 herbal medicinal plants which are unique to Indian climate, which I didn't know anything about. I was quite impressed, but at the same time I was concerned that we had no documentation on it. So he and I decided to work together to really document 12,000 herbal medicinal plants using pretty fancy, complicated computers and databases and scientific discovery and all that. At that point in time, nobody was willing to fund. No one in India would give you a dime to really document Indian heritage. Finally, we got some funding from Danish government, started our work almost 20 some odd years ago. Today, we have documented all of the 12,000 herbal medicinal plants. We have almost 200 doctors and scientists and engineers working in the institute. And we have a great deal of funding from Indian sources to really take this thing forward. The message is anything to do with tradition, you don't get funding that is required. So when we started talking about teachers training, we said because of IT, because of internet, learning models are changing rapidly. And as a result, we need to relook at the role of teacher. In the process, we need to go back to the tradition. Today, teacher essentially creates content and delivers content. With internet, web, content is essentially available on the net, created by best of the best in the world, and you can get that content delivered in multiple ways, anytime, any place, in any form you want. So what is the role of the teacher? And that's when Shruti started talking about traditional education, the role of guru. And I saw a great deal of fit here. So I said, it'll be good to really redefine the role of a teacher more in terms of a mentor. But all of the teachers today are not really trained to be mentors. They're basically trained to deliver content and create content. So when you look at millions of teachers in schools, you realize that they really lack basic skills required to be a mentor. So what does it mean to be a mentor? So she and I worked on a few ideas, and really defined 12 verticals. To begin with self. We said mentor will have to really specialize and understand these 12 different verticals and detach themselves from content and delivery and focus on really students' ecosystem, focus on giving comfort and really providing confidence that many of the students today lack. So we designed several modules. We are exploring ways and means to bring this to a trial level. And there I believe role of technology is going to be very critical. I was talking to Minister of Education this morning and I said, most of our teachers today do not know enough about web, IT, technology and utility. I am not talking about teachers in rural India. I am talking about even teachers in urban India, in best of the best engineering schools, even at IITs. Most of the professors are really not equipped to understand social media, use of all of it in really enhancing education. So we are working together in really fine-tuning this idea of transforming teachers to mentors, designing programs and tools and techniques to really change their orientation, because the task is huge. You got to take millions and millions of teachers all over the world and say that in the next decade you got to change completely. This whole business of student-teacher ratio of 10:1 or 20:1 don't make sense anymore. Today we have a national knowledge network which connects 1500 nodes to 40 gigabit bandwidth to connect all our universities, all our colleges, major parts of our libraries and all of the R&D institutions. But we just don't know how to use it, because people are really not used to this kind of bandwidth. Just to give an idea, on 23rd of January, along with Dr. Michael Sandel, a friend of mine from Harvard University, he and I would be addressing 250,000 students at the same time. And we will have interactive communication with all 250,000. Now that's a very powerful tool. How do you use this kind of a tool? How do we get these distinguished people to come in and interact with thousands and thousands of students? Earlier version would have been that Michael Sandel comes here and talks to a class of 400 or 50. So the mentoring also requires scaling. So we are in the process of designing this toolkit, content for mentoring, and then we want to use web to really transform teachers. We also want to look at developing an exchange where someone could log in from Bihar and said, I want to be a mentor. What do I do? Who will teach me? And the teacher may turn out to be a 12-year-old young kid who will be teaching computer skills to a 65-year-old teacher. These are the challenges that I see in taking technology forward. I am convinced that the education system is going to change completely in the next decade. If I was to build a university of 2030, it will definitely not look like Cambridge, Delhi University, or Harvard. It may not even have a campus. That doesn't mean everything is going online. But the class may be conducted at shopping center, restaurant, Starbucks, retail shops. The meaning of classroom is going to change completely. And can our teachers cope with these kinds of ideas? The biggest resistance comes from teachers' union. They don't want any change. They think these are all wild ideas that will not scale. But believe me, it is already happening. It's happening on a big scale. And if we are not really prepared for it, I don't think we'll be able to take advantage of the potential of technology. IT is definitely changing learning models, learning patterns, content, delivery, and as a result, roles and relationships between students, teachers, administrators, and all of that. Education is no longer about duster, blackboard, chalk, teacher, textbook, exam, grade, certificate. There is no need to get a certificate existing from an institution. You may need to get a certificate entering an institution. So these are all wild ideas. I don't think systems are ready to accept. So our goal jointly is to really develop this program for mentoring. She knows a lot more about wellness and self than I do. So I agreed to collaborate with her on taking the technology piece across and creating a platform where we can begin to create special content to convert teacher to mentor. Because I believe this is going to be a huge need in the country. Nobody is paying attention to it. Today, teacher means go get a B.Ed. Doesn't mean anything anymore. And teacher doesn't even understand the kind of tools available today in the marketplace. I work with a lot of young, and I experiment with some of these things like Twitter. So I had my first press conference on Twitter, which was a wild idea. Nobody had ever done it. Now we are working on taking 12th plan of the government and putting it on social media. That's an innovation. You know, most of the plans of the government are in 3 big volumes, about that thick, and they print several thousand copies and give it to most of the government officers. Maybe 5% of the people read it, 2% of people understand it, and it remains within a very small group. Average Indian doesn't know what this 12th plan is all about. And our job is to take that 12th plan and put it on social media so you can reach out to people. Don't underestimate the power of all these tools, even in India today. Even though you have a very small population today, which is going to increase substantially in the next 3 to 5 years to hundreds of billions, it is indeed a very powerful new tool. So how do we use these tools to create mentors is our challenge. I look forward to working with Shruti on this. I'm sure we have a lot of hard work ahead of us, and we'll also have a lot of people to convince. Unfortunately, I have a press conference at 4 o'clock.
On Twitter?
Not on Twitter. I'm sort of doing something. I don't even know what I'm doing. But you know, I'm like a robot. Okay? My office winds me up and I just appear there and they say, do something. So I do that. You know, so Sukhmani is here and she's going to tell me in the car what I'm supposed to do. And I'm supposed to also make sense at the end of the day. So when I came here, I was told, but I knew about this program, that I have about 15 minutes to speak and we'll have to rejuggle the schedule. So Shruti, thanks for accommodating. I appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you. I look forward to working with you on developing mentorship program. And I wish you all good luck at this conference. And I hate to leave, but I gotta go. Thank you.